when I was in my early 20s, I was a bartender, and I also was a rehabilitation specialist for a traumatic head injury facility, helping people rehabilitate themselves to return them out into the real world after, a stroke, car accident, something traumatic. We had spinal cord injuries. We just had an array of patients, and one night I decided to tie on a few after work, and it was at the bar that I was working at, and my other job wasn't far from there, so I decided that I was going to go park there in the parking lot and sleep there, because it wasn't a good idea for me to drive that intoxicated. But I thought that I was making a smart decision. I had pulled over in this place where I worked. They actually had little miniature apartments for these patients, and some of them had roommates, some of them did not, but they always had one of the RAs with them, so they were monitored, except for a few who were considered independent on the overnight shift. 2 patients, they were alone in their apartment for the overnight shift. One of them was a quadriplegic, and his roommate, he was fully mobile. I wasn't really sure why he was considered independent, just because of some behaviors that I noticed whenever I worked with him. For the most part, they would typically have a male in that apartment whenever they were required to have someone in there on the shift. Anyway, I parked at my job, and it just happened to be outside of that apartment. I had a friend who was actually working on the overnight, and I would have had a safe ride home, so I thought that was responsible for me to do, not taking into consideration all of the events that led me to being in that position. But the memory was very vague. I don't remember a whole lot of it. I get glimpses of being dragged from my car into this apartment, but then I just black out and I don't even know what happens. And it was just one of those things that it's like it resurfaced, because I didn't know it was happening. I had no idea. As a matter of fact, I didn't even want to say anything. Sorry, trying to get myself together. I didn't want to say anything about it because I felt ashamed. I was ashamed of myself for being in that situation, for not being more careful. And I just knew. I knew something bad, something really terrible had happened, and I don't know, maybe I was trying to block it out because I didn't want to remember, but there was a patient whose ears worked in that apartment. He heard all of it. Crazy thing is, I'm just like, pretend like it never happened. Just move on. Continue living life. And I guess that's what I was gonna do. But then I get the call. And there are cops there, and everyone wants to talk to me, and I'm at the hospital, and there's a bunch of different things happening because of this patient who heard everything that happened. And it really throws you for a loop, when you've already experienced sexual crimes committed against you, and it happens again. I just really didn't understand. The place that I worked, actually, they put me on an administrative leave. I was one of their best employees. One of their favorite rehabilitation aides. And they just tossed me out with the trash, sent that patient home, and the cops decided that mentally he had no idea what he was doing. This was actually one of those memories that, I tucked away in the drawer somewhere, so I don't have to see it, because, I worked in a place that made me feel like what happened to me didn't even matter. It's really embarrassing to have had to hear from another person how much you screamed for help. And then I think about him being helpless in his bed, not being able to do anything about it, but to just listen and to just witness. I was so young. And at some point, and all of that, I think I just hid myself away, Too afraid to be in a relationship with a male. I couldn't do that. I didn't want that pain anymore. And so going through this with my Remy, I never opened up myself for unconditional love. I had a hard time believing if anyone really truly loved me. But my Remy helped me to see that. He helped me to see that unconditional love is possible. It is possible to feel safe. It's possible to heal and to let go of things that you can't understand. It's just a bunch of little things like that I'm learning through him. It's funny because like the dating culture these days, you see just so much of people just bashing each other for having differences, just ways of being. And I think we as humans, we don't realize that someone might be dealing with something so deep-seated that it's hard for them to see. It's hard for them to feel. It's hard for them to experience the love that you have for them, you know? And Remy just kept giving it. He just kept giving it. He didn't have any requirements. He just kept loving. And so I really think that's what we're supposed to do. To keep loving.